chosen one, if this finds you on May 4th, understand something very clearly. This is not random. You didn't just stumble here out of boredom or coincidence. There is a pattern to your life, a rhythm beneath the chaos, and right now, you are standing at the edge of something that is about to shift in your favor. You've felt it, haven't you? That strange tension in your chest, that quiet knowing that something is building, even when nothing on the surface seems to confirm it. That feeling is not imagination, it's alignment. For a long time, things may have felt delayed for you, like you were doing the right things but the results kept slipping through your fingers. Like every time you got close, something pulled it away, and you started questioning yourself. Maybe you wondered if you missed your moment, if you were not chosen after all. But here's the truth. Your delay was never denial. It was preparation. The kind of preparation that doesn't look exciting from the outside, but builds something unshakable within you. You were being stretched in silence, tested in ways nobody else could see. While others were celebrating quick wins, you were learning patience. While others were rushing ahead, you were being taught timing. And timing, this is where everything changes for you. Because May 4th is not just another day in your timeline, it's a trigger point. A moment where everything you've been holding on to internally begins to reflect externally. You might notice it subtly at first. A conversation that goes differently than expected. An opportunity that appears out of nowhere. A message, a call, a sign that shifts your perspective. Don't ignore it. Don't brush it off as coincidence. This is how your big win begins. Not always as fireworks, but as a door quietly opening where there was once a wall. And here's what you need to understand. Your win is not just about material success. It's not just money, recognition, or achievement, although those may come too. Your real win is clarity. It's alignment. It's finally feeling like things are moving with you instead of against you. That's the kind of shift that changes everything. There is a version of you that has been waiting for this moment. A stronger, more certain, more grounded version of you. And that version doesn't panic anymore. It doesn't chase things that aren't meant to stay. It doesn't beg for opportunities that don't align. It knows, it trusts, it moves differently. And starting May 4th, you begin stepping into that version of yourself, whether you realize it immediately or not. But let's be honest, this moment requires something from you too. You can't carry the same doubts, the same fears, the same old mindset into this new phase. You've outgrown them. The hesitation, the second guessing, the need for constant validation, these things will only slow you down now. This is where you choose to trust what you feel, even if you can't fully explain it yet. Because deep down, you already know you're meant for more. That's why you've never been fully satisfied with average. That's why you've always felt slightly out of place, like you were meant to experience something bigger, something deeper. That feeling was never there to frustrate you. It was there to guide you. And now, it's guiding you into a moment of breakthrough. The energy around you is shifting. You might feel more aware, more sensitive to people, situations, and opportunities. Pay attention to that. Your intuition is sharpening right now, becoming one of your greatest tools. It will show you where to go, who to trust, and what to leave behind. And yes, leaving things behind will be necessary. Not everything can come with you into this next chapter. Some connections may fade, some habits may no longer feel right, some paths you once considered important might suddenly feel empty. That's not loss, that's alignment. That's you clearing space for something better, something that actually matches who you're becoming. And about that big win, it's closer than you think. Not months away, not years down the line, closer. So close that if you keep your energy right, your focus clear, and your mindset strong, you'll recognize it the moment it arrives. It might not look exactly how you imagined, but it will feel right. Undeniably right. You've been through enough to handle this moment. Every setback, every disappointment, every time you had to start over, it all built resilience in you. And now, that resilience is about to pay off, not in a small way, but in a way that shifts your entire trajectory. This is also a moment of decision, because when your opportunity shows up, hesitation will try to creep in. Fear will whisper, asking if you're really ready. Old doubts might try to resurface, but this time you don't listen to them. This time you move anyway. This time you trust yourself, because being the chosen one was never about being perfect. It was about being willing. Willing to grow, willing to face discomfort, willing to keep going even when things didn't make sense. And you've done that over and over again. So now, it's your turn to receive. Let yourself feel it. Let yourself believe it. Stop downplaying your potential. Stop acting like your dreams are too big or too unrealistic. They were given to you for a reason, and this moment, this May 4th energy is part of that reason. Something is aligning behind the scenes in ways you can't fully see yet. Pieces are moving, situations are adjusting, people are being placed or removed, all to position you exactly where you need to be for this next step. And when it happens, when your big win begins to unfold, you'll look back and realize that nothing was wasted. Not the waiting, not the struggles, not even the moments where you felt completely lost. It all had a purpose. It all led you here. So don't rush past this moment. Be present, be aware, be open, because chosen one, this is where it starts to turn in your favor. This is where things begin to make sense. This is where your breakthrough begins. This moment isn't coincidence, it's alignment. You may want to brush it off, to tell yourself it's just another piece of content, just another passing moment in a long, ordinary day, but something in you paused, something in you paid attention. That pause matters more than you think, because in a world full of noise, distraction, and constant movement, the things that truly align with you have a way of cutting through everything else. They don't shout, they resonate, and what resonates with you carries meaning. There is a timing to your life that doesn't always follow logic. It doesn't always make sense on paper, and it definitely doesn't move according to other people's expectations. But that doesn't mean it's random. In fact, it's the opposite. There are moments when everything begins to line up beneath the surface, even if nothing has visibly changed yet. And when you encounter something that feels like it's speaking directly to you, it's often because you've reached one of those moments. You didn't arrive here by accident. Every decision you've made, every delay you've experienced, every time things didn't go the way you expected, they all played a role in bringing you to this exact point. Even the moments you thought were setbacks were quietly redirecting you. Life has a way of closing certain doors not to punish you but to guide you towards something more suited to who you're becoming. And when you look back, you start to notice that what once felt like chaos was actually a pattern forming. Alignment doesn't always come with loud signs or dramatic changes. Sometimes it shows up as a feeling, a sense that something is different, even if you can't fully explain it. It might feel like a quiet certainty or a shift in how you see things. You may notice that you're thinking differently, reacting differently, or even desiring different things than you used to. That's not random, that's growth. That's you moving into a new phase where your energy, your mindset, and your direction are starting to match. And when that happens, things begin to respond. Opportunities appear that wouldn't have made sense for you before. Conversations take a turn that opens new possibilities. You start noticing signs, patterns, and moments that feel almost too perfectly timed to ignore. It's not because the world suddenly changed. It's because you did. You reached a point where you're ready to see, receive, and act in ways you weren't before. There's also something important about recognition. Alignment only works when you're aware enough to notice it. Many people experience these moments but dismiss them, thinking they're just coincidences. But the truth is, coincidence is often just alignment that hasn't been acknowledged yet. When you start paying attention, when you start trusting that what feels meaningful actually is meaningful, you begin to work with that alignment instead of against it. This is where your mindset matters. If you keep telling yourself that everything is random, that nothing really means anything, you'll miss the deeper connections happening in your life. But if you allow yourself to consider that there is timing, that there is purpose behind certain moments, you begin to move differently. You become more aware, more intentional, and more open to what's unfolding. Right now, you are in one of those moments, a point where something is shifting, even if it's subtle, and instead of questioning it or brushing it aside, this is your chance to lean into it, to trust that there is a reason you're here, a reason this message reached you, a reason you felt something when you read these words. Because alignment isn't about luck, it's about readiness. It's about becoming the version of yourself that can recognize and receive what's meant for you. And the fact that you're here, paying attention, feeling something, that's already a sign that you're closer than you think. Delays were preparation, not failure. It's easy to look at the time it took, the plans that didn't work out, the doors that stayed closed, and assume something went wrong, that you missed your chance, or that you weren't good enough, fast enough, or ready when it mattered. But that perspective only sees the surface. Underneath, something much more important was happening, something that couldn't be rushed. Every setback you faced carried a lesson, even if it didn't feel like it at the time. When things didn't move the way you expected, you were being forced to slow down, to observe, to adjust. You were learning how to handle pressure, how to stay grounded when things felt uncertain, how to keep going without immediate results. That kind of growth doesn't happen in moments of ease. It's built in the waiting, in the discomfort, in the times when nothing seems to be working. Think about who you were before those delays and who you are now. You don't react the same way. You don't see things the same way. There's a level of awareness, a depth to your thinking, a quiet strength that wasn't there before, that didn't come from things going smoothly. It came from navigating difficulty. It came from being tested in ways that forced you to evolve. Patience is one of the hardest things to develop, especially when you feel ready for more. But patience isn't about doing nothing. It's about trusting the process while continuing to grow. During those waiting periods, even when it felt like you were stuck, you were actually being shaped. Your mindset was shifting. Your standards were rising. You were becoming more clear about what you want and what you won't accept anymore. And resilience, that's something you can't fake. It's built over time, through repeated experiences of having to get back up when things didn't go your way. Every time you chose to keep going, even when it was hard, you strengthened that part of yourself. You proved to yourself that you could handle more than you thought, that you could adapt, learn, and move forward despite obstacles. Strength doesn't always look like confidence or certainty. Sometimes it looks like continuing even when you're unsure. Sometimes it looks like holding on when everything in you wants to give up. And that kind of strength is exactly what prepares you for bigger opportunities. Because when those opportunities come, they don't just require skill, they require stability. They require someone who can handle pressure, make decisions, and stay grounded even when things move quickly. If everything had happened earlier, if you had received what you wanted without going through those delays, you might not have been ready for it. You might not have had the clarity to recognize the right opportunities or the discipline to maintain them. Timing matters more than we often realize. What feels late is often right on time when you consider who you've become in the process. The waiting wasn't empty. It was active, even if it didn't look like it. You were gathering experience, learning from mistakes, refining your perspective. You were building a foundation strong enough to support what's coming next. And that foundation matters because it determines how long your success will last once it arrives. It's also important to release the idea that progress has to be visible to be real. Some of the most important growth happens internally, in ways that no one else can see. The way you think, the way you respond, the way you carry yourself, these are all signs of progress, even if your external situation hasn't fully caught up yet. So instead of seeing your delays as lost time, start seeing them as necessary time. Time that prepared you, shaped you, and positioned you for something greater. Because what's coming next isn't meant for the version of you from the past. It's meant for who you are now. And everything you've been through has played a role in making you ready for it. A major shift begins around May 4th. Not in a loud, dramatic way that announces itself to the world, but in a way that feels personal, almost quiet, like something clicking into place inside you before anything changes on the outside. This is the kind of turning point that doesn't always come with immediate proof, but carries a different energy, one you can sense if you're paying attention. It's the moment where things begin to move, even if they start with the smallest signs. You might notice it through subtle changes at first. A situation that once felt stuck suddenly shows movement. A conversation opens a door you didn't expect. An idea comes to you with unusual clarity, like you finally understand something that used to confuse you. These are not random moments. They are signals that you're entering a new phase, one where things begin to align more naturally. Clarity is one of the first things that arrives during a shift like this. Not necessarily clarity about everything, but enough to take the next step with confidence. You start to see what matters and what doesn't. Decisions that once felt overwhelming become simpler. You no longer feel the need to chase every option or please everyone around you. Instead, there's a sense of direction, a quiet knowing of where your energy should go. Opportunities often follow that clarity, but they don't always appear in obvious ways. Sometimes they come disguised as small chances, brief encounters, or unexpected changes in your routine. It's easy to overlook them if you're expecting something big and immediate. That's why awareness matters. The beginning of a major shift often looks simple, even ordinary, but carries the potential to grow into something significant if you recognize it early. This period also brings a different kind of momentum. Things that once required force start to feel more natural. You're not pushing as hard, yet you're making more progress. That's because alignment creates flow. When you're moving in the right direction, with the right mindset, things begin to respond. Not perfectly, not instantly, but steadily. At the same time, you may feel an internal shift. Your mindset begins to change. You become less focused on what's not working and more focused on what is possible. Doubt doesn't disappear completely, but it loses its control over your decisions. You start trusting yourself more, even in uncertainty. That inner change is what allows the external changes to take hold. It's important to understand that a turning point doesn't mean everything becomes easy overnight. Challenges may still appear, but you'll handle them differently. What once felt like a setback may now feel like a minor adjustment. You'll find yourself responding with more patience, more clarity, and more control. That's a sign that the shift is real, not because life suddenly became perfect, but because you've become more equipped to navigate it. There's also a sense of renewal that comes with this kind of moment. Old patterns begin to lose their grip. Things you once tolerated no longer feel right. You may feel drawn to new ideas, new habits, or even new environments. That's part of the transition. It's your mind and energy adjusting to a higher level of awareness and intention. Trust plays a key role here, because at the start of any major shift, there's always a gap between what you feel and what you can see. You may sense that something is changing, but not have full evidence yet. This is where many people hesitate. They wait for proof before they believe. But real transformation often asks you to believe first, to move with the shift before it fully reveals itself. And as this unfolds, you'll begin to notice that things are no longer happening to you, they're happening for you. Situations start to make sense in hindsight. The timing of events begins to feel more precise. Even unexpected changes carry a sense of purpose. That's when you realize that this moment, this shift around May 4th, is not just a date, it's a turning point in how your life starts to move. So stay aware, stay open. Don't rush past the small signs, because they are the beginning of something bigger. What starts subtly now has the potential to grow into a powerful change, one that shapes the direction of your path in ways you may not fully understand yet, but will soon begin to see. Let go of old doubts and outdated paths. Not everything that once made sense for you is meant to stay with you forever. Growth changes your perspective, your priorities, and your direction. And when that happens, holding on to old ways of thinking or living can quietly hold you back. It's not always obvious at first. Sometimes those doubts feel familiar, even comfortable. Those habits feel like part of your identity. Those relationships feel like history you're not supposed to walk away from. But familiarity doesn't always mean alignment. Doubt is one of the first things that needs to be questioned. The same voice that once tried to protect you may now be limiting you. It tells you to wait, to be careful, to not take risks. But at this stage, it can keep you stuck in a version of yourself that you've already outgrown. You don't eliminate doubt by fighting it aggressively, you outgrow it by choosing differently, by taking action even when it's still there, by proving to yourself step by step that you're capable of more than those old thoughts suggest. Fear works in a similar way. It doesn't always disappear just because you're ready to grow. In fact, it often gets louder right before a breakthrough. It shows up as hesitation, as overthinking, as the urge to stay in what's safe and predictable. But growth rarely happens in what's comfortable. It happens when you move forward despite that discomfort, when you stop waiting to feel completely ready and start trusting that you'll figure things out along the way. Outdated paths are harder to recognize because they once felt right. Maybe it was a goal you worked toward for years, a plan you believed in, or a version of success you thought you wanted. But as you grow, your definition of what matters evolves. What once motivated you might no longer feel meaningful. And forcing yourself to stay on that path out of habit or fear of change only creates resistance. Letting go doesn't mean you failed, it means you've become more aware. Habits also play a big role in this process. The routines and behaviors you repeat daily shape your direction more than occasional big decisions. If those habits were built during a different phase of your life, they may not support who you're becoming now. Small patterns like procrastination, negative self-talk, or avoiding challenges can keep you tied to the past. Releasing them isn't about perfection. It's about becoming more intentional with how you spend your time and energy. Relationships can be one of the most difficult areas to navigate. Not everyone will grow at the same pace as you, and not everyone will understand the changes you're making. Some connections may start to feel draining, limiting, or misaligned. That doesn't always mean conflict. It can simply be a quiet realization that you're no longer on the same path. Letting go, or creating distance, doesn't make you disloyal or ungrateful. It means you're choosing an environment that supports your growth. This process isn't about cutting everything off suddenly or making extreme decisions. It's about awareness, about noticing what feels heavy, what creates resistance, what no longer matches your direction, and then gradually choosing differently, choosing thoughts that support you instead of limit you, choosing actions that move you forward instead of keeping you stuck. Choosing connections that encourage growth instead of holding you back. There may be moments where you question these changes, where you wonder if you're making the right decision by stepping away from what's familiar. That's natural, but staying the same out of fear is not the answer. You don't grow by holding on to what you've already outgrown. You grow by making space for what's next. And making space is powerful, because when you release what no longer aligns, you create room for new opportunities, new ideas, and new connections to enter your life. You lighten your mental and emotional load. You gain clarity. You begin to move with more confidence because you're no longer pulled in different directions by outdated patterns. This is part of stepping into a new version of yourself, a version that trusts more, hesitates less, and acts with intention. A version that understands that growth isn't just about adding more, it's also about letting go. So don't be afraid to release what doesn't fit anymore, even if it once meant everything to you, even if it feels uncertain at first, because on the other side of that release is alignment, and alignment is what allows everything else to start falling into place. Your big win is both internal and external. It's easy to think of success as something visible, money, recognition, achievement, something that others can point to and measure. But real transformation rarely arrives in only one form. When a true shift happens in your life, it touches both what people can see and what only you can feel. And the internal part often changes everything else first. The external win is what most people notice first. It could be an opportunity you've been waiting for, a breakthrough in your work, a situation finally moving in your favor, or doors opening that once felt permanently closed. These moments matter because they reflect movement in your reality. They show you that things are no longer stuck, that progress is happening, that effort is finally turning into results. But what's even more powerful is what happens inside you at the same time. Because without internal alignment, external success often feels incomplete. You can achieve something and still feel unsure, disconnected, or constantly chasing the next thing without satisfaction. That's why the deeper part of your big win is not just what you gain, but how you begin to feel about yourself and your direction. Clarity is one of the first internal shifts that arrives. You start to understand yourself better, what you actually want, what you no longer want, and what truly matters to you. Confusion begins to fade, even if not completely. and decisions become less overwhelming. You're no longer pulled in every direction because you can sense where your energy actually belongs. Alongside clarity comes confidence, but not the loud kind. It's a quieter, steadier confidence that builds through experience. You stop needing constant validation from outside sources. You begin trusting your judgment more. Even when things are uncertain, there's a part of you that stays grounded. That confidence doesn't come from everything going perfectly. It comes from realizing you can handle things even when they don't. Then there's alignment, which is perhaps the most important part of all. Alignment is when your actions, thoughts, and directions start to feel connected instead of scattered. You stop forcing yourself into paths that don't fit. You stop resisting what feels right just because it's unfamiliar. Instead, there's a growing sense that you are moving in the direction that actually suits who you are becoming. When internal alignment starts to take place, external changes begin to respond differently. Opportunities that once felt out of reach start to feel more natural to step into. Situations that used to feel complicated begin to simplify. It's not that life becomes effortless, but that you become more in tune with how to move through it. And this is why your big win cannot be separated into just one category. External success without internal growth feels temporary. Internal growth without external expression feels incomplete. But when both happen together, something stabilizes in your life. You're no longer just chasing outcomes. You're living in a way that supports them. There's also a shift in how you see your own path. You stop comparing it so heavily to others. You stop measuring your progress only by visible milestones. Instead, you start recognizing the importance of how far you've come mentally and emotionally. That awareness changes how you approach everything else. Even setbacks begin to feel different. Instead of seeing them as signs of failure, you start seeing them as part of the process that shaped your strength and clarity. You become less reactive, more observant, more intentional. That change alone can shift the entire direction of your life over time. So when the big win begins to unfold, it may not arrive all at once. It may come in layers. First a change in perspective, then a shift in confidence, then opportunities aligning externally. But each layer matters, because each one reinforces the other. What you're really moving toward is not just a moment of success, but a state of being where things feel more aligned than they used to, where you trust yourself more, where your choices feel clearer, where your direction feels less forced and more natural. That is why this win is bigger than a single event. It's a combination of everything coming into balance, inside you and around you.